age and willing to discuss. I got into a very interesting email correspondence with a guy called Daniel Lohmann at Baalbek from the German Archaeological Institute, who's an architect and an archaeologist, and he was very civil with me, and he answered my questions. We went into it in depth. We had quite a long debate. That's very refreshing. That kind of thing wasn't happening 20 years ago.
Yeah, that is very refreshing. Now, what about those pyramids in Bosnia? Has that been, what is the deal with that? Are those things? I've
been there. I know Sam Osmanagic personally. Sam is the guy who's promoted the site. I like Sam very much. I must say, when I'm in his aura, I'm extremely convinced. But when I look rationally at the so-called pyramids, I don't think they're pyramids. I think they're hills. I did spend, with Sam showing me around, I did spend 3 days in Bosnia looking at the so-called Pyramid of the Sun, the Pyramid of the Moon, the Love Pyramid, and so on and so forth. I do see that a tourist industry has built up around this, and it's a fabulously beautiful, intriguing site, a massive, beautiful, mountainous place, but they are hills. They are not pyramids. Impression is given that there are tunnels, passageways inside the pyramids. That's not true. The passageways are about 2.5 kilometers away. They're very low tech. I just don't see it, and for that reason, I did not cover the Bosnian pyramids in Magicians of the Gods. I'm not going to say they're not pyramids. I'm not going to write a book saying that they're wrong, but they didn't excite me enough to justify devoting a chapter to them. There's much more exciting and important archaeological discoveries that are being made, like Göbekli Tepe, which need more space.
And there's some pyramid-like structures or hills in China as well, right?
There's thousands of pyramids in China. Xi'an, the province of Xi'an, is just the moment you land there from your aircraft, you're seeing pyramids everywhere. I've been there. There are certainly hundreds and hundreds of them, distributed across fields, vanishing off into the distance in all directions. They've been terraced and used as agriculture. The local farmers grow crops on them. I went there with Chinese archaeologists. They haven't excavated a single one, not one.
Why not?
They said, we don't have, this was nearly 10 years ago I was there. They said they probably got the money now, but they said then they didn't have the money. They said, we're an old country. We don't mind if we wait 200 years to get to grips with this.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And the famous tomb of the first emperor is part of this pattern. It is also a pyramid. It has also not been excavated. The terracotta army around it has been found.
Yeah. The terracotta army is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
It was on display somewhere, wasn't it? Where you can go and see it live?
Yeah, they did some kind of travel exhibition.
I'd want to see that thing. I'd want to look at those things. What a bizarre concept. Yeah. Now, these pyramids, so this one that this emperor was buried in that had the terracotta army, was that a pyramid as well?
It is a pyramid.
It is.
Absolutely. It's a man-made pyramid. The terracotta army was buried around its edges, not in the pyramid itself.
So the army was there to protect him?
Yeah, to protect his soul into the afterlife seems to have been the idea. And then there's a mythology that's come down, that within the pyramid is a lake of mercury, that there are mechanical devices in there which will fire arrows at you if you go in, that there's a whole story about how intensely protected it is, and up to this day it's not been excavated.
That's so crazy. How could someone leave that alone?
And you know, even major archaeological sites like Tiwanaku in Bolivia, for example, you'll find that only about 2% of the site has been excavated. I don't know how we can draw inferences about the whole site from a tiny little fraction like that, and that's the problem, I think, with archaeology, and it's why we have to consider another way.
We're looking at an image of the terracotta army now in front of this pyramid, and it is spectacular. Now that I think about it, I don't think that was on display anywhere. I think maybe they had a couple of them.
They brought some of them. They came to the British Museum. There were a number of museums.
But it's so much bigger than I thought it was.
Yeah.
I mean, how many? There's thousands.
Yeah.
There's thousands of these terracotta figures.
Absolutely.
And this pyramid was made out of what? Was it stone?
Ramped earth, mainly.
Okay. So they just sort of